Let's can ground beef. I'm bringing a mixture of beef broth and water to a boil, and at the same time I am going to par cook my ground beef. The beef will continue to cook in the canning process, but I want to cook it to the point where it no longer sticks together. This way it doesn't congeal into a solid mass in my jars, and it will allow the heat and the liquid to penetrate all the way to the center of those jars as it's canning. Now I'm going to use a skimmer or a slotted spoon to remove the beef from the fatty liquid that is cooked out of it, and I'm going to fill my jars to a 1-inch headspace, lightly tamping the meat down as I go. This is my first time to use these 4 jars funnels, and I love them. They have a series of notches on the inside of the funnel that make it super easy to measure your headspace without any guesswork or additional tools needed. I'm also filling the jars with my broth and water mixture. You could use plain water or all broth. You can also put a teaspoon of salt in each quart. I do not like to use salt until I'm ready to cook with it, since I don't ever really know what I'm going to use it for. I'm using a paper towel soaked in white vinegar to remove any of the fat around the rims of the jar. That will prevent the lid from creating a good seal in the canner. Each quart jar will hold about 2 pounds of ground beef. So if you don't typically cook with 2 pounds, you could can in pint jars instead, and that will typically hold about 1 pound of ground beef. I'm going to allow my canner to vent a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes before adding my weight. For my altitude, I use 10 pounds of pressure, and then I allow the canner to come all the way up to pressure, and my weight will begin to jiggle. Then I set my timer for 90 minutes for quarts. You would use 75 minutes for pints. And I adjust my temperature so that the weight on my canner only jiggles once or twice per minute. Once my timer is up, I turn the heat off and allow the canner to come all the way down from pressure on its own before I remove the lid and the jars. Now, some people do not like the texture of canned ground beef, so if you haven't done it before, I would suggest that you start with a small batch to try it and see how you like it. We really enjoy the convenience of having ground beef on our pantry shelf that will last for years with no refrigeration needed.